Starry Night has become one of the most famous and iconic paintings of all time. Its swooping thick lines and textured canvas are a recognizable style that artists mimic to this day. Even as colors used to create an iconic glowing night scene are well known and associated with that singular piece. Even the artist himself, Vincent van Gogh, has become a romanticized icon for artists around the world. So what is the story behind this piece and its creator that seems to have captivated the world? Before we can look at the piece, we should look at Vincent's life leading up to it. How did he get there? Where did he learn to paint? Why? Vincent van Gogh was born March 30th, 1853 in Zundert, Netherlands to Anna Carbentus van Gogh and Theodorus van Gogh. His father was an art dealer, giving Vincent insight into the art world at a young age. Vincent would learn how to paint from a cousin by marriage, Anton Mauve, who was a well-known painter in his time. Mauve would also give him his first commission, 12 paintings of the view around the Hague. Vincent enjoyed painting the world around him and would end up moving to Paris for better scenery. He enjoyed painting the nightlife and roaming amongst the other artists. However, he would end up moving to Arles because, as he told his brother Theo that he was extremely close to, he enjoyed the warm countryside. In Arles, he lived in a yellow house that would become the subject of art for him. He enjoyed going out and painting the countryside, including wheat fields and trees. Also, while in Arles, he would meet a woman who he fell in love with. He ended up cutting off his ear for her, which she ended up rejecting and had a complete mental breakdown. This was after years of built-up mental issues, and Vincent would go on to check himself into Saint de Paul, which is an asylum in Saint Remy de Provence, France. He stayed there for a year and would produce painting after painting, the most famous of these being Starry Night. There's a lot about this painting that is interesting, from technique to when he painted it. Starry Night is considered a post-impressionist painting. Post-impressionism using techniques from impressionism such as vivid colors and short brushstrokes. It originated in France in the same century as impressionism and liked to focus on the world around them, but post-impressionism differed from artist to artist and liked to stray from reality. It used geometric shapes and more expressive forms along with colors that don't seem to fit the piece. Post-impressionism also rejected impressionism's more naturalistic light and colors. It emphasized symbolism and the emotions produced by them along with the structure of the art piece. Vincent also liked to use a technique called impasto when creating his paintings. This technique uses thick layers of paint to create lines and texture. This technique would also include layering the paint on top of each other. The layers on top of the lower layer would also be thin enough to allow the color to show through. This would also allow mixing of colors within the painting through our eyesight rather than the blending or mixing on a palette. Vincent also notably used wet-on-wet painting, where paint would be added on before the last layer was dry. The combination of these two techniques allowed Vincent to work quickly. On Starry Night, Vincent used oil paints on canvas with these two techniques to create the choppy lines we see today that seem to be filled with such emotion. One of the most notable bits of information on Starry Night is that Vincent worked on it usually during the day. This allowed him to see outside of his window and the painting more clearly. However, despite seeing the world around him more clear, the village seen in the painting wouldn't have been visible from his window, and the chapel we see in the painting matches a Dutch chapel rather than the one that is actually in the town. This would be the result of homesickness or just homage to where he grew up. Probably one of the most interesting parts of the painting is the night sky and the stars within them, or more accurately, the stars and planet. The brightest star in the painting could have actually been Venus, which would have been visible from Vincent's window in the time frame he would have been painting Starry Night. Along with this, the moon at the time would have been a waning gibbous, making it 3/4 full, rather than the crescent we see. Starry Night is a painting on the view from Vincent's window at St. Remy Asylum. It's his view of the world outside, including the cypress tree in the town below, along with rolling hills and most notably, the night sky. Vincent was always interested in the night sky, writing to his brother Theo that it often seems to me that the night is much more alive and richly colored than the day. The problem of painting night scenes and effects on the spot, and actually by night, interests me enormously. Many also like to believe that the cypress is a symbol of Vincent's mental illness, more specifically his suicide, that would come only a few months later. As the cypress was seen as a symbol of the afterlife, and in this painting, the cypress can be seen climbing into the night sky, like a stairway to heaven. It can also be seen as a symbol of immortality. The same way, his paintings seem to carry the memory of Vincent, making him immortal.